I also wanted to see if you saw Penta or at least heard about him making his Netflix debut. He wrestled Chad Gable. They had the merch on sale earlier in the day. I think he's probably going to have to get used to wrestling with real ropes as opposed to the cables that he's been wrestling with. But man, big time superstar debut. What do you think of all the buzz about Penta making his debut for WWE?
I was a excuse me, I was a little surprised. We had him here at AEW for a good while. Soft-spoken guy, no trouble. Hardly knew he was there until he got in the ring, and then he was phenomenal. But I was a little surprised at the hype. So what it tells me is that WWE and Triple H covet him in a significant way, where he's going to be in main events or semi-main events within the next year, if not sooner. So, but I was a little surprised. There's so many guys doing that. I don't like to use this term, act, that bit, that routine of the luchadors. So when I hired Rey Mysterio, we didn't have anybody that even compared to Rey, but really nobody in the business did. If you ask a lot of the insiders, but he was special, unique. He's one of a kind. So, and I don't know that Penta just never. We had a lot of that kind of style in AEW. So he was one of many that did a lot of acrobatics and flying things. Now, he might have been the best at doing it. I'm not saying that, but he wasn't the only one doing it. So it made it less special. And WWE's got a good stock of luchadors. They got several guys in the roster that have that background. Just got to be careful how you book it.
Well, we're all staying tuned to see what's happening next with Penta. I also wanted to get your take on the Saturday night's main event schedule being announced. I don't know that you saw this, but next weekend we've got our second Saturday night's main event under the new WWE regime and the new deal. But they announced the future dates, and they just so happen to be head to head with AEW in Las Vegas for Double or Nothing. And AEW, I assume it's going to be in Las Vegas. I don't have any inside information, but normally Double or Nothing is. And now we know that they're planning to go head to head with All In, the first AEW stadium show in the suburbs of Dallas, Arlington, Saturday, July 12th. WWE will be running on Peacock and NBC Saturday night's main event. That scheduling cannot be coincidental. This feels a little bit like WWE and Jim Crockett Promotions all over again. What say you, Mr. Ross?
Yeah, not a good time. But I don't like to reflect back on those times because it was just so stressful. Because we're talking about staying in business, the Crockett analogy you used. Those of us that were working for Jimmy Crockett were worried about the company staying in business. And are we going to have a job? Or, because there's not a lot of these jobs. I was watching ESPN this morning early. I generally watch Get Up and Stephen A. Smith's show.
First Take,
yeah. And the only critique I got about that is when everybody talks at the same time. God damn it. Do you hear in your headset somebody else talking? If you do, shut the fuck up. Make your point, but let it be where they can understand and hear you. Not over talk where you're having to process two conversations or three. It doesn't make any sense. And they were talking about the NFL coaching carousel and how many, there are 32 jobs in the world to be a head coach in the National Football League. I think 32 teams, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a part of the world we live in. I bet you when there were 10 or 12 NFL coaches, nobody talked about it.
Right.
But now it's a big deal because, they got the Rooney Rule, or you got to introduce so many African Americans or minorities. So, and I don't have a problem with that either. If that's the only way that that group of people can get a fair shake, then have at it. Have at it.
So, Jim, let's talk about our topic today. We're going to be talking about an interesting time. It's the end of 04, it's early 05. And around this same time, we're running split crews. Stephanie is running Raw and Paul Heyman is running SmackDown. And back in this era, they used to have these teleconferences and people would call in and they could join the meeting remotely. And well, as they're going around on one of these Raw conference calls, you have the automated system announce when someone is coming or leaving a conference. So they are doing the meeting here, Mr. Ross, and they hear, unknown caller has left the meeting. And that sort of is interesting to Stephanie. So she does a roll call like, hey, who's still here? Who left? And she realizes, wait, everyone's still here. That means someone called in and had access to this line who was not supposed to be a part of the meeting. So they checked the phone logs, and the unauthorized call came from Paul Heyman. Allegedly, Paul Heyman wanted to listen in and see what Stephanie was doing on Raw. And it's being described in the Observer here that Stephanie has nicknamed him Mind Games. She considers him jumping on this call a breach of trust and says that was the final straw and suspends him. And that's kind of crazy to me that, here's a guy who's listening in on creative, but like, aren't we on the same team? What does any of this matter? Why do you think Paul just rubbed Stephanie the right or the wrong way? And did he do it on purpose, or what do you make of this report?
Well, in her view, Conrad, Paul betrayed the trust of Stephanie. So it doesn't matter. I don't disagree with you. You'd think that the lead writer on the show that's being taped the next day, would be informed as to what was going on. So in other words, like this, Stephanie's got a cage match planned and Raw. Well, that would give Heyman the opportunity to make a decision. Do I duplicate another cage match or do something else? Well, the logical answer is probably to do something else. So, and set that picture. So I think he should have been listening anyway. But he wasn't welcome. They want to separate and they have competition and all this other shit.
It seems weird though. I don't know anything.
It is weird,
this, but
it shouldn't seem weird, Conrad. It's fucking weird. It's egos, politics, and all that dog shit. Heyman was lucky he didn't get fired. Very, very lucky.
Process what we're saying. Heyman was lucky he didn't get fired for doing extra work.
I don't know.